Sneakers and Fur Coats, the number one podcast brought to you by Bo Skaggs, Jody P, and Bo Skaggs. It's wonderful. Sneakers and fur coats. 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 We got Jody P. Sneakers and fur coats. They call me Bo Skaggs. Sneakers and fur coats. 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 True hip-hop, health, wealth, the Bible, conspiracies and everything else. We got sneakers and fur coats. Sneakers and fur coats. Jody P, Bo Skaggs. Sneakers and fur coats.
Yo, it's your boy Bo Skaggs, and you are listening to Sneakers and Fur Coats, the number one podcast on the internet with my girl, your girl, the number one host on the internet. Make some noise for Jody P.
Thank you, Bo Skaggs, for that warm New York welcome.
Yeah.
That was very nice. Jody P here, a.k.a. Joe Show. Thanks for joining us today. So what are we talking about today? A few things. First, at the top of the show, we're going to be discussing industry plants. Industry plants. Who are they? What are they? What is their purpose? I saw this little clip. I didn't even get to watch it, but they're saying Sexy Red is an industry plant.
I could believe that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, our music is terrible. And you know what? I'll take that back. I don't like most of her music. She got one song that I think is kind of all right, but I mean, she's the epitome of dusty looking.
Right. She's not even remotely attractive.
Not the least.
She's not talented. She's really like the lowest common denominator, like her conversation, the things that she talks about her. She has that lip gloss line, like the lip glosses are called like gonorrhea and herpes. And I mean, like, yes.
Are you serious?
Yeah. It came out like a year ago. She's just a very depraved, low vibrational, just dusty. I mean, there's no other way to describe her, honestly. So, yeah, why?
I mean, I would say that they put these industry plants in there to like push a narrative. So they want to make like, and let's say in Sexy Red's case, they would, use her to, I guess inspire girls to look dusty and be ratchet and not care about the values of like having a relationship with a man and wanting to start a family and wanting to
have a husband
and things of that nature. And Sexy Red is like the complete opposite of what what God's plan is. So it's like
right.
If you insert somebody in popular music like a Sexy Red to deter the young black females and the young white females or females of any female who listens to her, it doesn't matter what race you are, it just pushes these narratives, that you don't need a man, you don't need to be married, you don't need to start a family, you don't need to do those things, which those are, the values that, God wants us to.
Right, and pushing this agenda that women like sex just as much as men do, and we could have relationships, with no, emotional attachment, which is biologically impossible for a female. I mean, literally impossible. I mean, females give off the bonding pheromone, I think it's 80% more than males during sex.
Right. I could believe that. I mean, I can see that. I mean, that's why, when a female when the man and the female have sex, the female gets attached quicker than the man does.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But they're trying to push this, there's this movement to make women feel like, oh, it's just sex and do you, and you have to take care of you have needs too, but those are not women's needs. Women do not need to have sex. I mean, yes, some women have higher libidos than others, of course, just like with men, but largely, men are the hunters. Men are out seeking sex because it's biological, because they are seeking to procreate. It's just in their nature. And women, women are meant to be pursued, and they are meant to nurture the family. And women are just not sex-driven individuals, but it's becoming that way in our society, but it's really not organic. I mean, like, they try to act like, women could use men for sex. Well, that is a lie.
Right, because
that is a downright lie. You cannot, you can't use a man for sex. You can't rape the willing. Like my dad used to tell me when we were little, me and my sister used to tell us that all men want is boys. All boys want is sex, and they'll say anything to get it. And he used to call them bicycle seat sniffers.
It's crazy.
But it's true. You know what I mean? He was right. He was right. Why buy the cow if you can get the milk for free? And it's very much true that that's all they want. You know what I'm saying? I mean, truly, it's at the very deep down, that is the driving force. But it is biological, because God wanted us to, reproduce and to form families and, to populate the earth.
Right. And just like it says, like back in the days, like a girl, the more females a guy slept with, he would be considered a player. And the more men a female slept with, she would be considered a hoe. That's just not something that we made up. Like that was
this was not fabricated.
Yeah, that's not something.
Not societal values that have been forced, and that's what they act like. The patriarch has forced this on females, but it's just lies. And then they're promoting abortion and telling women you have to put your career first, and you don't, you have to have a child when you want to and when you're ready. Who's really ever ready to have a child?
Well, I do believe that you shouldn't try to start females shouldn't have a kid if they really want to be out in the club partying. I mean, like, don't do that to a child and then leave your child with your parents and then.
Well, I do agree with you, but the alternative is not. The alternative should not be, oh well, let's kill it.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you should not even get yourself pregnant. You should always be cautious of being pregnant if you know that you're not.
Well, you should abstain.
Yeah.
I mean, God's plan is you abstain and you get married and then you have a baby.
Right.
And more babies.
Who else would you say is an industry plant?
Yeah, I don't even know how we got on this subject, but I mean, so let's rephrase that. I believe the video said she is a CIA plant. So let's differentiate here.
CIA plant. Well, yeah, CIA would plant you in the so industry plant is still correct to say. I would believe.
I mean, okay, I feel like what we were just talking about is the general motivation of the industry being part of the New World Order and having an agenda and being an integral arm of the New World Order agenda, which is to, I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard of Yuri Bezmenov, but he was a former KGB operative who went rogue and left and fled to Canada back in the 1980s. I want to say it was 1980. I discovered him a really long time ago. Recently, I would say in the past 5 years or 10 years, maybe he's actually become viral. But he talks about how you subvert, how you demoralize a society. And he talks about the things, and one of them is take God out of schools, make people, break down the family, like degrade the family, remove the men from the homes, take make people believe in science and not God, and foolishly not realizing that science was created by God. I mean, God is a biologist, a marine biologist, a
archaeologist,
right, an electrical engineer. I mean, God, he's the top scientist of every category.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, he's an astrophysicist. He's the best one there is. But yeah, so that, that's part of it. But it was, one of the big ones was to break down the family and make women, desire to have careers outside of the home and not raise their children and to believe in abortion and all these things. But so, yeah, it makes sense why the artists that are chosen. And I mean, there's that story that was leaked by Crazy Bone, which was actually leaked by somebody else. But remember, he had that on his show several years back about that meeting that they had. And I want to say it was in the early 90s.
Right.
It was in Long Island.
When they supposedly had the rappers change the content of the music.
Right. They had all the A&Rs and record executives come to this meeting. They all had to sign NDAs to never discuss this. And they said that, they wanted the rappers to rap about selling drugs, and they wanted them to talk about girls as hoes, bees and hoes, and and then right after that, NWA was born, and Snoop Dogg, and that whole like West Coast music, like.
Oh, and then if you look at it, honestly, we don't have any like conscious rappers that like we used to have back in the days, like Talib Kweli and Brand Nubians, and it was a couple of guys that were considered like backpack rappers, but those were like the conscious rappers,
right?
That kind of didn't really talk about things of that nature. They always they had positive messages and things like that, and you don't really have those rappers anymore that like push
or
a
even they might have
narrative.
been like more independent rappers, but still had a buzz in the industry, like even like Gangstar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
but they just don't have that type of element anymore where the rappers like actually talk about things that are not of the agenda. You know what I mean?
Right, where they're all different and diverse. You don't have that anymore because it's completely controlled now. Completely controlled.
And it's funny that like back when when I was doing like secular music, you had to be different. You know what I mean? Like the number one thing on the list was to be authentic and be unique and not sound like the next person. Like if you sounded like another rapper, people considered you whack. You had to have your own flavor, your own style, and now it's just like you need to sound like this person. You need to make a record like this person, and this is what the industry is like. It's like clones. It's like they just cloning rappers, and then the younger you are, the more stupid you are, and the easier it is for them to manipulate you, and then that's when they put you on and they give you the money.
Right. And I think that was true. I think that's always been true in hip-hop with real hip-hop heads and with students of hip-hop and real hip-hop heads where, yes, it was whack for you to sound just like the other you'd be a biter.
Right.
But in the industry, it's something totally different. Because I remember as long ago is like when Diddy was coming out and he was sampling everything. He was sampling everything. Every song had a sample back in like the early 90s. And
well, that was okay. Like, all right, sampling songs and music, as far as the music aspect of a song, it's okay. But when it comes to the actual lyrics and the actual rapper and a voice and how they rapping, you had to be original. But it was okay to sample like the Gap Band and then make a hit out of an old hit and then still have like remnants of that hit song in your new record. Like that's still acceptable today, and that's fine. Because I have a song that has like the SWV kind of like beat that I did with Trey. It kind of has that same kind of like sound and same kind of So that part of it is fine, but it's more so when a rapper sounds identical to another rapper, like how Shine sounded like Biggie. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's why Shine was whack, because he sounded like Biggie, and they tried to like replace Biggie with Shine. You know what I mean?
Right, right. But now all the rappers sound the same. But also, they're largely untalented as well. And that is by design. They don't care anymore. They know that they could beat you upside the head with spins. And eventually, these songs that are not good and were never good, if you hear them enough times, eventually you start to sing them and they start to sound good. And it's like, casting pearls before the swine. Why waste your time? Like, it's like throwing good food into a garbage can. Like people have been so dumbed down already. Like the youth of today are, first of all, their IQs are so low. First of all,
it's ridiculous.
It's just unbelievable. And they don't even require anything. You know what I mean? Like, because they have been shaped and molded into these just shallow, self-absorbed, just non-critically thinking, just, they need constant stimulus. You know what I mean? Like, they need to be constantly stimulated. They need, their attention span is shorter than it's ever been in history. And I believe that is by design. Like, what do they say? Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create hard times.
And hard times create strong men.
That's correct.
So it's a cycle.
So you see where we are in the cycle.
Right.
We're
right
at
now,
the weak men cycle.
With the weak men cycle.
And that's a scary place to be, because you know what comes next. Because people are there are just so many comforts in first world now. There's so many. We have led such cushy lives, like here in America specifically, for so many decades. So many decades. And it's just to the point where, they are just downright stupid and practically useless. I hate to say that like that, but they don't want to work. They want something for nothing. They feel entitled to everything. They don't respect their elders. They don't respect themselves. You know what I mean? It's just sad. They're just like vacant little people. And so it's very easy to just prop somebody up there, make them really deep. It's like they don't even have to try. They just put these artists that look crazy and, and mumble some things, and in between popping Percocets and smoke and taking puffs of weed, and, and then everybody starts regurgitating their devil music.
Yeah, hip hop is not in a good space. Even R&B music. None of it's really in a good space.
I remember when R&B music, when it first started to go south. Do you remember that song? This must have been in the late 90s. I don't even remember the song, but he's singing, talking about, you came and scratched up my six. What song is that?
I do not know.
I'll never forget it. I will never forget it, because prior to that, R&B was always about love. It was always about love, and it was always about pain or love, or, pain and suffering or love. And it was always very romantic. And I remember when it really started to take a turn, it was going in the same direction as like, rap songs and hip hop. And it's been like that ever since. You still have some nice R&B songs, but they've become very ratchet as well.
Well, speaking of songs, let's get into the song of the day. Let's get into the song of the day.
Let's do it.
This one is by yours truly. It's off the album Revival. So if you haven't gotten that album, I suggest you go get it. If you want to listen to some real, good Christian rap music, with that slap, I would go check out the Revival by yours truly, Bo Skaggs. And if you want your music played on here, I'll let you know what you got to do after the song. But here we go. We're going to go ahead and get into this one. It's called Stay. It's by yours truly, Bo Skaggs. It's off the Revival.
It's a good one.
Let's get to it.
You stay on my mind every day and every night you do. You stay on my mind every day, every night. You stay on my mind every day, every night.
Yeah. Okay. Gotta stay in a blessable place, cause you can wind up in a vegetable state. I spent many nights in an uncomfortable space, and that's what brought me to the secret place of the Most High. Most guys, they don't make it this far. That's what happens when Satan's involved. They say the good die young, but the saved don't die. That's why at funerals we don't even cry, cause we all waiting on our turn to meet him, so we can lay the crowns at his feet when we greet him. And all we want to hear is well done, good and faithful servant. Now we know that we fulfilled our purpose. Until then I keep my head just up, and then I pray to God I don't mess this up. I feel I did a lot of things I shouldn't be forgiven for, but he loves us, he forgives us more. And everything I did back then, he erases it. Repented for my sins, so it ain't no trace of it. He's all about love, the hate, there's no place for it. And he's the only way, so it ain't no mistake in it. I gotta thank God every day I'm alive, cause only through his grace is the way I survived. I ain't just saying it just to be saying it, I believe that's true. And if you know him, you believe that too.
You stay on my mind every day and every night you do. You stay on my mind every day, every night.
I remember waking up with no place to sleep, asking what more can he take from me. Remember having it all, but no one's there when you fall, wondering why no one came for me. I guess I had different lessons to learn than them, and when I needed it, I never turned to them. All them days I was laid in a hospital bed, from popping the meds, eyes open, man, I probably was dead. My life didn't start till the day that I was dunked in the water. I was free from that living disorder, and the way you living, man, you ought to try to get it in order. We can see it all over your aura. When everyone's against you, he the only one for you. It's all in your mental, man, don't let it destroy you. It's really all simple, praising with your mind, body, and soul, because he owns your mind, body, and soul. Truth be told, I couldn't even make it through the days without him. I'm ashamed of the days I doubted. And if you know Bo Skaggs, then you know I'm about it. He's the king, I ain't afraid to shout it. I ain't spent much time in the church or in the word, but the things that he did for me was unheard. I'm headed to the kingdom, I'm just waiting for my time. But until then, I'ma keep him on my mind, he's divine.
You stay on my mind every day and every night you do. You stay on my mind every day, every night.
Yeah. All right. So that was Stay off the Revival album by yours truly. You can get that album on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, wherever you get your music from, Amazon, wherever you listen to your music at. It's on YouTube, is everywhere. Now, if you want to get your song played on our podcast, what you need to do is send your song to jnbstudios@yahoo.com. That's JANDB as in boy studios@yahoo.com, and get yourself a spin on the show, man. You know, we like to hear new music and new talent, and you know, we'll give you guys a spin. So let's get back into it, Joe. So you said you want to say something about Katt Williams is who.
Well, I mean, we were discussing who might be plans. I mean,
Right.
we were, you know, I saw something about Jim Jones that he could be a plant. Which is funny.
I wouldn't go as far as to say Jim Jones is a plant, but I mean, it is kind of awkward that he's 48 years old and he's still rapping about the nonsense. I know Jim Jones is a good friend, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I won't go into like, you know, I won't be disrespectful because he is a friend, but at that age, you should start, you know, figuring out what you want to put out there in the world. And I think that, you know,
Well,
still rapping about selling drugs and hoes and cars is like beneath a 48-year-old. I would I would assume, you know what I mean?
Right. And I agree wholeheartedly.
But you can do rap at 48. I mean, if you're a good rapper and you're
Absolutely.
48 years old, do your songs. You know what I mean? Like they always said that hip hop is a young man's sport. I don't believe that. I
don't either.
I believe that if you got something to say and you're 50 years old and you're 60, I mean, if you sound good and you got the juice, go do your thing, man. That's why I still respect Method Man and Nas and Jay and Kanye and all those guys that are up in age and they can still rap. I want to hear their music. I want to hear it still.
I'd still rather hear Jay-Z than anybody else.
I'd rather hear that than Lil Pumpy or Lil Uzi Dirtbag or whatever. You know what I mean? I'd rather hear that. You know what I mean? But that's just me.
Well, they also say Lil Uzi Vert was a plant to make black men gay.
Yeah, Lil Uzi Vert's gay.
Yeah.
But that's another thing. So Katt Williams.
And Lil Nas X. Yeah, Katt Williams is a very interesting
Lil Nas X is a faggot. But
okay, well, we might not be able to say that on our podcast.
I say whatever I want to say on our podcast.
Okay, well, yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, Katt Williams is perplexing because why did he know these things all these years? Now, all of a sudden, he's coming out with this Diddy news. You know what I'm saying? In such a timely fashion. And he knew what was brewing already. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, in talking about, what's his name? Kevin Hart, which he very well could be an industry plant. He really could. He did come out of nowhere. Just like he said. Just like Katt said about him is true. But
you know what I always feel about that? Like, all right.
You think Katt's a hater?
I don't think that Kevin Hart came out of nowhere. Like, I mean, this is my thing, right? I don't think no rapper came out of nowhere, or no comedian, or nobody came out of nowhere.
Lady Gaga came out of nowhere.
Maybe Lady Gaga, but like these people, like, you know, like Katt Williams. Somebody could say Katt Williams came out of nowhere because we didn't know about Katt Williams, and I didn't know about Katt Williams, and I seen him in Friday. Like, I didn't know about him.
Yeah, but Friday was like 30 years ago.
Right, but he came out of nowhere, and then he was in Friday. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know him until he was in Friday.
Friday was not like the major blockbuster of the year.
But Friday was when the hottest.
It had a cult following, and it continues to have one.
Right. So this is what I'm saying. Kevin Hart was in all these little rinky-dink comedy clubs before he even made it somewhere. That's not coming out of nowhere. If your grind is documented, like when you was nothing and you was nobody and you was at these clubs and you was nobody, it's footage of Kevin Hart being booed. Like he didn't come out of nowhere. He grinded to get to where he was at, and then he struck. Then he got in a corny movie. He got in a bad movie, and then somebody said, "You know what? I like this guy. I think he's funny. Let's put him in something else." That's what happens.
I don't think it works that way. I think it works like this. I think you're struggling, you're doing your thing, whether it's music, whether it's comedy, whether it's acting, right? Then you meet the right person, and then they make you do their devil rituals, you sell your soul, and then you get on, and then they give you all these fake streams. They give you all these fake followers on YouTube, all these fake followers on Instagram. And we know this is documented. I mean, it's the same thing they used to do with the Billboard charts, which they still do. So it's manufactured. So they make everyone think you're the hottest thing in that it's organic, but it's not organic. It's completely contrived. So if you get down with them, then they put you up there high.
So what do you say about, all the time that a person put in work before that?
What about it? There's plenty of people that put in time and don't get signed.
Right. It's because they're not good enough.
No, absolutely not.
One, it's because they're not good enough. No. And two, it's because they didn't meet the person. All right, I'm going to explain something to you. When you're a person that's starting out in an industry, right? You know no one in that industry. You don't know a soul in the movie industry, but you want to be an actor. You don't know a soul in the music industry, but you want to be a rapper / singer. You don't get in that industry until you meet someone in that industry, right? You'll never get in until you meet someone. You can be the best rapper in the world. But if you never meet someone who's in there, you'll never get in there, right? So even if you rapping at like a rinky-dink talent show, and it's a guy in there who knows a guy that's down with Def Jam, there you go. That's your end, right? Because this guy knows a guy that knows a guy that's with Def Jam. If you never meet that guy, you never get in. So whether you want to sauce it with the devil worship or whatever that goes on, you never get in unless you meet somebody that's in. It's just the wall is up forever until you meet someone that can open the door. Now I'll tell you this too. People get the door opened and they don't go up, right? You can meet someone that gets you in and you don't go up. Whether it is, situations, other things happen in the industry other than they wanting you to do devil worship. That's why you don't go up.
Or bending over.
Right. It's a lot
which
of things,
goes hand in hand.
Yeah, but it's a lot of things that happen. So we just got to really think rational when we say, he got in and he did this. Well, if he didn't meet somebody he met someone and they put him in and he went to the top. Like, whatever, maybe he had to do some things, whatever. I'm not saying he did or he didn't, but what I'm saying is you never get in until you meet someone that's in.
Okay, but what does that have to do? I mean, you just got done saying, we just agreed that they only put people in that they can control. That's why they like, with music, that's why they like you very young. They especially like you very broke, because they want you to be willing to do anything for the money, or they want you really, really, really thirsty for fame.
Right. Sometimes, right? Sometimes. I would say, honestly, 89% of the time, that's what they're looking for. And then 11% of the time, they really get.
Well, sometimes they find a real talent.
They really get a person that's really good, and they do right by them. Maybe 5% of the time, maybe. You know what I'm saying?
No, I mean, but ultimately, to get really to the top, the tippy top, you must.
No, once you scratch a certain plateau, yeah, they come
right,
for you.
like Kevin Hart, for example.
That's
I mean,
fact.
he's an A-list comedian,
but he's funny, and it's not.
So what?
But it's not. But that's what I'm saying. He's not like Chris Rock. Chris Rock is not funny. Chris Rock is not funny.
But what's that have to do with anything? I mean,
so how did Chris Rock make it to the top when he's not funny? But Kevin Hart is extremely funny. Katt Williams is one-dimensional funny. He made it with his dimension.
Well, we never finished talking about Katt Williams. What I was going to say is, as soon as he outs everybody, acting like he's not in the clique, all of a sudden he has his own show.
Katt Williams is in.
This is what I'm saying. Like, how did he get his own show after that? After like outing all these people, you know what I'm saying?
That was his job,
right? That's what I'm saying.
All right, look, Kat, this is what we're gonna do for you. We know you've been struggling. You hate Kevin Hart. He's a big name. Kevin Hart's a big name. Are you ready to go to the next level, Kevin Hart? I mean, Katt Williams. Are you ready to go to the next level?
Right, but what was the purpose?
The purpose was, you know what they say. You gotta not be friends with your friends. You gotta not do this. People are not gonna like you. This is your mission.
But what was their purpose in getting him to out Diddy?
It was a mission. It was his mission. Whatever the purpose was, that was Katt Williams' mission. Diddy's finished. Like
I don't know. They're saying he's gonna get out now.
look. Look. There's the thing. Katt Williams is cool. Let's talk about Diddy. Right? Diddy, like you said, Diddy messed up somewhere. Right? It ain't about what he did. He's been doing it for years.
Everybody knew it and was involved in it.
It ain't
they
about
were
what he
probably
did.
paying him to sell those videos.
It's something that he did.
They're probably mass producing, distributing those videos all over the world and making a lot of money for it.
It's something that he did to someone that we do not know about.
Right.
Someone that's very powerful, that he did something to someone that is very powerful that we don't know about.
Yeah.
And he can't get out of it. Right? It's probably a way to get out of it, but his ego is probably too much for it and he won't do it. Right? Because the person who could get him in this can get him out. You understand what I'm saying?
Unless they died.
I thought about that too. I said maybe he had protection around him, and now that protection is gone, and people that been wanting to get him said, the savior is gone, let's snatch him up.
Right. Or he did something irreparable to the relationship with that person that was protecting him.
He started thinking that he was bigger than the people who he wasn't bigger than.
Right. He's definitely the type that thinks, he gets too big for his britches, no doubt about it.
Right, because no matter how big you are, no matter how much of a boss you are, there's always a boss over you. There's always a boss over you.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting so sick of talking about Diddy.
I mean, look.
Honestly.
Look,
I'm so sick of him and his shenanigans and his drama and him breaking the internet. I mean, he's not even out and he's still all over the internet. You know what I mean? It's just so funny.
I'll say this. A homosexual has never gotten this much play as Diddy.
I disagree.
Everyone knows Diddy is gay. So then
but
Stevie J. What did we just
gay.
see about Stevie J? Did we just see some about Stevie J?
What about him?
He's now saying why he won't turn his back on his friend Diddy.
Because he's such a good friend, which everyone knows that is just a bold-faced lie.
Diddy's
never been a friend to anyone in his entire life.
It's a tape of Stevie J sleeping with a man.
Right. But he's already been outed, so why? There's more to it. There's probably murder involved and lots of rapes and things like that, and that's why he's protecting Diddy, because he doesn't want Diddy to tell on him. But I mean, if everything was taped anyway, then why hasn't he been implicated?
Because maybe they don't have the real tapes.
Right. Maybe they don't.
Maybe
they don't have all the tapes.
Maybe they got the tapes that they wanted them to find. Because if I was Diddy and I had the tapes, you wouldn't be able to find the tapes. You'll be able to find a tape, but you wouldn't be able to find the tapes.
Well, let's think about this, though.
The tapes.
If he's working for extremely, extremely internationally powerful record executives and they're involved in these crimes, right? I'm sure he feels untouchable. And being the A-list superstar that he has been for the past at least 10 years. Let's say he's been A-list for sure for 10 years, 15.
But you think he doesn't have like a contingency plan?
I mean, maybe he did, but let's not forget he is a drug addict at this point. I mean, he just lived his life on drugs, high, out of his mind. You know what I'm saying? So when you're in that mindset, you're slipping all day, every day. But yes, he had people working for him to be in charge of those things, but no one's going to care as much as you do about your crimes.
And what I will say about that is, when you're on drugs like that, you're always paranoid. So you're always thinking that today could be the day, right? Even if you want the world to feel like you are the man and you living life, you at the top of the food chain, you know the truth. So you know it's somebody that can cut this all short at any time. So you keep the tapes somewhere safe. Mm-hmm. You have some tapes around, but the tapes.
Right.
This is probably why he had that conversation on the phone with his son.
Christian. Christian probably knows where the tapes are.
Like, what's up with Jay? You heard from Jay? He's like, nah, man, he's been ghosting me. He's like, what? He said, tell him we about to have a Netflix special.
Right, but that might not be a real video. That might not be a real tape. That might be
Diddy
AI.
That was Diddy and his son.
I don't think so. That person, they had sort of a Southern accent. That was not a New York accent.
That sounded like Diddy to me. I mean, I don't know. It could be AI.
I don't know. I
pretty
think
good,
it was AI. I think it was AI.
It sounded like Diddy to me.
I mean, some people think it's real and other people think it's AI, and I lean towards the AI. Because I just don't feel like, I don't know, it just didn't sound authentic to me. It really didn't.
I mean, I don't know, man.
It almost sounded like they were actors, just the pauses were, it was just a little forced, and then the accents weren't quite right.
Right.
So I don't know if that was real or not. But the pizza boxes could have been the tapes. Could have been. But
yeah.
Yeah. But well, we don't have a lot of time left, but to close out, how about Whoa Vicky?
Yes. All
I
right.
mean, they're saying she's trapped in Africa, and I think it might be true.
I don't know. I don't think Whoa Vicky is even important enough for somebody to like kidnap her and want to get money. Who's gonna pay for Whoa Vicky?
Some Nigerians that can't get their hands on anybody else.
Right, but who in the States is
And
gonna pay for
no
her?
one was dumb enough to come over there and hang out with them in their cement shacks,
I don't think
in their concrete house. Who else is coming over there to hang out with those derelicts?
and they, I heard something that like is connected to one of these girls that was in one of those shows with her. She was
Really?
on like one of those shows, I think Baddies or something like that, and she was on there with like Christian, Blueface's girl, and there's another girl on there that supposedly be like trafficking the girls from that show, and then she had them in Nigeria, and all of that, and they trying to say that she's connected because Whoa Vicky, like sued all of them. Like when she went on the show, the girls beat her up, and she quit the show, and then she pressed charges on those girls. So it's a
Right, I
chance.
saw a video with Krishan slapping her.
Yeah, so it's a chance that they could have like set her up to go to Nigeria
Oh my.
and get her snatched like that. But
Well, I think it could even be more sinister, although that sounds very possible. They're talking about her manager is this Asian guy from LA. He's Chinese. Okay, he's Chinese American. I don't even know if he's Chinese American. He was probably born in China. And he oddly was part of the Trump campaign.
I don't know. I mean, I just
And then all of a sudden, he wanted to manage influencers and he chose Whoa Vicky, of all people. I mean, why, right? And then he was talking, like, these were his words. He said something in an article that he is her handler. He used the word her handler. And then he was talking about how influencers are shaping the minds of, today's youth in America, and how Whoa Vicky is such an inspiration, and it just sounded like, how like it just sounded very suspect. Like he sounds like a Chinese person trying to infiltrate American culture, and she's just and people like her are just another arm. Like, I mean, she's as dumb as it gets. Like, she is the absolute bottom of the barrel dumb, and she does influence people. And whether they like her or not, they're watching her every single day. You know what I'm saying? They're watching the train wreck, and that does shape the thinking of young people. And so, because how they say like on Chinese TikTok versus American TikTok, their algorithms versus ours. Like
Right.
Chinese algorithms show them math problems, advanced math, and they show them how to assemble and disassemble a firearm in under 60 seconds. And ours are, dances and fights at McDonald's and at Waffle House, or you know what I'm saying?
right,
Like,
or DJing or whatever.
right.
Yeah, it's sad. But I mean,
Right. So, I mean, that sounded there were just some key words there that sounded highly suspect to me. Highly suspect. And then there's the other thing that about a year ago, Whoa Vicky was talking about a party that she was at, and she was like outing, these like this Illuminati party and like what was going on there. And it was very, it was a little bit, I won't say it was shocking, maybe not to someone like myself or to you, but it could have been shocking to a lot of people. I mean, I definitely heard some things that I never heard before. And so there's that. You always have to take things like that into consideration. And then recently, the other thing is she got saved. And I do think that's sincere. I know you say she's a liar, and I've definitely seen her lying a lot. But she did seem like she really got saved, and it did not seem fake. And I mean, what would her purpose be anyway in doing that? She's not even the type of person that would want to seek God. She's not. And she wouldn't do that for clout. She wouldn't do that to be popular, because her fans are just as dumb as she is.
I just don't believe Whoa Vicky at all. That's just I don't believe her. I don't even think she's worthy to even have a segment on our show.
Well, I disagree because I find it highly interesting that she could be trapped in Africa. And from the videos I watched, I believe it's true. And I actually feel sorry for her.
I don't believe Whoa Vicky is trapped in Africa, and I don't believe that we are even talking about Whoa Vicky.
Well,
But I'll say this. Whoa Vicky, if you are trapped in Africa, I pray that you get up out of there, and I hope that you're okay. But if you're not and you're just doing this for publicity, then, you know.
No, she's been there
you're a
too
sucker.
long. She's
You're a
been there
sucker.
for months. She's been there for months.
I don't know.
And she's not anywhere luxurious. And in all of her lives, she seems very depressed. And they keep taking her phone away and, like, they don't let her hold it. And she looks timid and afraid. She looks afraid. And she's always traveling around with, like, 8 to 10 males that are not nice to her either. They're not nice to her. And they're saying crazy things. And I mean, it all started with that post on her Twitter saying, we have Whoa Vicky hostage and we want something such and such. And then she came on and then everyone was like, what? And then the next day she comes on, she's like, oh no, it's not true. It was just a joke. It was just a joke. But she did not seem like she thought it was funny. And she seemed afraid. She seemed afraid. And, you know, I mean, I'm not going to say she's not an idiot and she wasn't stupid for going there and everything, but I still do feel sorry for the girl. You know, I really do. I mean, I actually prayed for her. Like, I feel sorry for her. I hope she gets out.
Well, speaking of prayers, let's get into the verse of the day. This is out of the King James Version of the Bible.
Of course.
This is Psalms 119, 103, and 104. How sweet are thy words unto my taste, yea, sweeter than honey to my soul. Though my precepts I get understanding. Through my precepts I get understanding. Therefore I hate every false way. Now, what does that mean to you, Joe?
Read the beginning again. Read it one more time.
How sweet are thy words unto my taste, yea, sweeter than honey to my mouth. Through thy precepts I get understanding. Therefore I hate every false way.
That's just saying that I'm assuming this is David. If this is Psalm 119, David wrote that. It's the longest book in the longest chapter in the Bible, actually, Psalm 119. He's just saying that, you know, the Lord's precepts, you know, are what he builds his life upon, and you know, his words are everything to him, basically. And I mean, I don't have it in front of me to say any more about it, but why don't you tell me what you think? What's the verse again?
It said, how
Psalm
sweet are thy
119.
words unto my taste. So, and sweeter than honey to my mouth. So I would say that, you know, how sweet are thy words. He loved to hear it. He loved those words. They are very sweet to his taste. The word of God
It's pleasing.
just pleasing to him. And, you know, through thy precepts I get understanding. Therefore I hate every false way. So the precepts of God, the things that he wants you to do, the things that he tells you are, you know, are your steps, the steps that he gives you the understanding. And therefore, you know, anything that's not in God's plan, he hates. And I mean, that's what I get from it.
Right. And and the Lord is the truth, and he loves the truth, and he hates the false ways. So he hates anything that is opposite of the Lord.
Right. Well, you know, that's our time here. Joe, you want to say something before we go?
That's all for now. But on our next show, we're going to be talking about passive income. We're going to switch gears a little bit, switch over to our wealth segment. We're going to be talking about passive income through income properties and using vacation rental platforms to maximize highest and best use of your rental properties. And I look forward to that show. I have a lot to contribute.
So wealth, finance. Next show. I'm Bo Skaggs. This is Sneakers and Fur Coats, the #1 podcast on the internet, with the #1 host on the internet, Jody P. And we're out.
Love you guys. Bye bye.